Something I read, quite beautiful, which we all have in common because we all eat vegetables. This miraculous process of a plant being in the right place at the right time facilitates the process of photosynthesis, whereby sunlight bonds carbon dioxide and water to create sugar, the essential fuel that powers organic systems. When humans and animals consume plants, that bond is dissolved once again, dividing sugar into carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide is then eliminated via the lungs and the water via perspiration and urination, leaving only light within the organism. In essence, we live on sunlight. Plants absorb the formless energy of light from the sun and store it in their leaves. When we eat those plants, we literally ingest frozen light. We use it, and what remains is its formless essence, which is light. So whether we like it or not, we are all beings of light. And in the Indian scriptures refer to the sun as the manifest Brahman, manifest Shiva. So next time you blame yourself or hate yourself or condemn yourself, just remember this thought that you are actually a being of light. And so are the others who you don't like. But this is the nature of Maya. Everything gets covered. This is a doctor who has said this. Isn't that fascinating? Can you imagine the respect one would have for plants after reading something like this? Yesterday I was talking with a friend in the evening, and he was mentioning about how his quotient of peace of mind is directly linked to the instances where he realizes he doesn't have control over a situation. Once he realizes that I cannot control this situation, he becomes peaceful. And he gave the example of someone on a plane who was getting very agitated sitting next to him. And he told the guy, look, we are all going to the same destination, and okay, the air hostess hasn't behaved herself, something's wrong with the flight, but this is how it is, you need to learn to accept it. So his comment to me was that when I realize that there are some instances over which I do not have control, then I am at peace. But when you realize that you have absolutely no control over anything, then you are truly at peace. No control over absolutely anything except perhaps your attitude to life. And that is what it is all about. Sometimes we feel helpless when we hear that. You mean absolutely no control over anything? You don't. That's the honest truth. Yet you do your best based on what God has given you, because that is the way we function in life, and leave the rest to God. I read Mike Tyson, the boxer, had said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Then you realize, you didn't see that coming. And when you accept that you cannot control outcomes, it automatically means you consider yourself less and less the doer of your actions. And which means you consider others less and less the doers of their actions. Because you realize that all of us have been programmed by forces beyond our control. Our genetics, were we born to certain parents with certain genetics, in a certain geographical environment, in a social, in a economic environment, upper class, middle class, lower class. We went to a certain school, we went to a certain college, depending on our religion, or mosque, church or temple. And all this created our conditioning, which is who we are. Now, did we have control over any of these factors? And these factors are the basis on which we think and take decisions. Now, if all these factors have been created by a source which is not me, then it automatically follows that I am not truly the doer of my deeds or the thinker of my thoughts. And nor is the other, especially the one who's giving you trouble and the one you don't like. So you stop analyzing others and yourself also. That self-judgment, that self-criticism starts reducing because there is more and more acceptance that this is how things are, this is how people are, this is how I am, precisely the way the divine has made us. It certainly does not mean that I sit back and do nothing, because I will do that which I am designed to do. But in my actions, there is a sense of peace and also a deep knowing that truly nobody is the doer of their actions. So your battle is no longer us versus them, me versus you. It becomes me and you. That is the beauty of this teaching. It works on various levels. You will even find your vocabulary change. Extreme words in your vocabulary will start reducing. Because of the acceptance of this, which is the foundation of the Gita. The ego deluded thinks I am the doer. I read one short snippet someone sent me of what Sri Ravi Shankar narrated. I must have given his own angle to the incident, and I'll add my masala. And he says that at the end of the battle, Arjuna asked Krishna that, okay, now it's all over, but I have one question to ask you. So the Lord said, go ahead. So he said, whenever I hit my arrow at Karna's chariot, it went back at least 4 or 5 feet. Such is my power. But when he hit my chariot, it went back a foot or two. So why is it that every time I hit his chariot, you never said anything to me, you never praised me? But when he hit my chariot and it just went back a little bit, you kept praising him. He said, I cannot understand this, it's not fair. So Krishna said that you get down from the chariot and I'll give you the reason. So he said, no, how can I get down before you get down first? You're the Lord, you're my master. And Krishna said, no, you listen to me. You get down the chariot and I'm giving this to you as a command and I will give you the answer. So he had no choice. So the minute he got off the chariot and Krishna then got off the chariot crumbled and collapsed. And then Krishna told Arjuna that, my dear Arjuna, your chariot was finished long ago by Karna. It was only I who was holding it together. So where's the question of you wanting praise for thinking you did something by which his chariot was going back for 5 feet? If I was not on your chariot, you would have been finished. Someone had sent me an email where he said, I live for praise, I live for acknowledgement, I love it when the women in my life, my mother, my wife, my cousins, my women friends, acknowledge what I have done, give me a big thanks. And that is my conclusion, that everyone is living for praise. And I said, I don't think so. Pleasure may arise. Certainly, you feel good if you have impacted someone's life. But I don't think the enlightened being is living for praise, because neither praise nor criticism would affect him, as he knows that he is not the doer. And nor is the other. It is incredible how criticisms of other people stops with this teaching. And of situations. Things should not be this way. He should not have said that. You should not have done that. So what happens when that dialogue starts dissolving? Is the thinking mind which was engaged gets disengaged. The thinking mind which is always going into the past or the imaginary future stops doing this dance, this tandava. It starts coming into an equilibrium, which is called being present to the moment. That is what it is about. So the teaching is what does this, not the individual. Understanding is all there is what my guru used to say. Understanding is all there is. You don't have to go to a Vedanta course, study the scriptures and then come home and look at it as theory. You have to apply it in your daily life. You have to look at your own self. Your life, your problems, your relationships. And then it becomes such a beautiful journey of discovery.
Question. So, if if one was to acknowledge that nothing is under your control, so does that mean you just coexist passively without trying to influence anything, just accept it the way it comes? Or does it mean that you still react in a manner such that you believe it's right, but without necessarily getting too engaged in the outcome?
Absolutely, nothing changes in terms of your reaction, because if that was to change, that would mean doership. The understanding is that I am programmed. Let's say someone is programmed to be a hard worker, right? It comes naturally to him. He loves it. So nothing changes. But with the understanding that this is the way I am designed, and if he has an employee, let's say, who's not as hardworking as he would like him to be, at some point he will understand that this man is working to the best of his ability. There's no point pushing him beyond that. I've tried telling him work harder. So the acceptance that each individual has been shaped the way they are, all we can do is try till a point, then you let go. You let go. It does not mean that your own nature is altered. What is altered is accountability. You do not hold people accountable for not being the way you would like them to be, and yourself more importantly. That is actually harder. We are very good at judging and criticizing ourselves. So if something is felt that I need to make an effort because this thing bothers me, that has to be honored. But knowing that there is nothing wrong with you, because you have been made precisely the way you have been designed. So that self-judgment and criticism starts dropping. And it becomes so light. It becomes so, I would not say easy, but simple. Because you are more accepting of the will of the divine. Someone was telling us about a new form of schooling which is emerging, I think, in Scandinavia, where they are no longer telling children that these are your 6 subjects or whatever. They are looking at each child, what their inclination is, what their interests are, finding out, helping the child to discover those, and then a program is being made based on the natural inclination of the child. That is honoring the way each human being has been created. Not adhering to some block of knowledge which is a one size fits all, everyone has to do these things, first comes first, or you fail. That way of thinking is dissolving. How could somebody fail? I remember in the 6th or 7th standard, a boy who was not particularly bright in a class was made to stand up and was told by the teacher, you are a failure, you are going to fail this class and you are going to fail in life, because he was bad in that teacher's subject. Now can you imagine that? Can you imagine the burden of that label? Of course it was the child's destiny. It would not have happened otherwise. But with that kind of thinking, what if you do not have the inclination for a particular subject, let's say chemistry? You try your best, but the best is not good enough according to someone else's standard. So you are labeled a failure. And then the conditioning of the child is failure, failure, failure. You must succeed, you must succeed, you must succeed. And someone sent an email asking about if there was a fees for this talk. I believe there is a fee. And Maharaj would say that fee is earnestness. Be earnest. Look at your daily life. Apply it, what you hear. Don't just listen to us. Implement it. It's not a small fee, that's for sure. Maharaj had said that when you are in prison, you have to trust those who are outside and who are working for your release. Because you are in the prison, they are outside and they know the way out. But we don't even trust that. We'll start questioning all that. No, are you sure? Is this what you really think? If I went this way, it would be the right way. I think perhaps that way would be the better way. That is how we are designed to think. The Maya is very overwhelming. The actual culprit is nothing but memory. The actual culprit in your life is nothing but the burden of memory. Because if you had a delete button and every morning we hit it, the state would be that of the baby. Pure awareness. Without a smidgen of conditioning or of separation. The baby does not feel separate from anything. That's why it reaches out in the crib. The land of discovery. So if you had a button and you had problems in life, you would press the delete button. Let's say your memory was wiped out. You would only be left with the impersonal awareness of being. Not being this or being that, but just being. Presence. So next time you want to blame someone, blame memory. Because without it, there's no problem. You want to hate someone, hate memory. Problems in life, memory. Do they exist in deep sleep? Ramana Maharshi has said deep sleep is a very good indicator to the actual state because you do not exist as a separate entity in deep sleep. Isn't that an amazing thought? That we have been given the gift of deep sleep. Are we grateful for that? Are we really grateful for the gift of deep sleep or do we take it for granted? Isn't it amazing that 1/3 of your life you are guaranteed the peace of deep sleep? It's fascinating. And even on that we don't have control. We cannot decide that, okay, I'm going to go into deep sleep right now. You slip into deep sleep. You have no control over it. It's really fascinating. my last talk, I used the example of Mother Teresa, who was a hard worker all her life, working for the poor and underprivileged. And when the interviewer asked her that, where do you get this energy from? And don't you want to rest sometime? And she said, but I have all of eternity to rest. While I'm here, this is what I'm going to do. Which is the way she was programmed. That's what she was saying. That was her nature. Her nature was to do that. And when someone asked Ramana Maharshi, how can you sit on that couch all day doing nothing? He said, how do you know I'm not doing anything? Just because I'm sitting on the couch? And someone asked Maharaj that, what about you? You retired, you're not doing anything. You're just sitting here giving satsangs. He said, but I am the one doing seva. This is nothing but seva, otherwise why would I be sitting here? So everyone is doing precisely what they have been designed to do. It is we who put labels on this one is not doing this, that one should be doing that, I should be doing this.
Everyone is looking for a purpose. The question is, does one, and everybody is looking for validation in the same. How do you disengage while still coexisting within society? Not necessarily looking for that validation. So you do what you, as you said, programmed to be doing, but not necessarily with this expectation of, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I doing it right? Should I be getting validated? How do you disengage from that?
So the understanding creates the disengagement. You will no longer be looking for validation because you are not the doer. Validation is a need to feel good, to feel important, which is there's nothing wrong with it. But the looking for the validation will stop. That is why the enlightened masters are just being themselves. They are not looking for the audience to validate them. They are just being themselves. Living a simple life with peace of mind and equanimity. It's incredible because we truly can look at everything we do and it will reveal so much to us. But we don't look because we are too involved and engaged in our drama. This question you have asked is excellent. And now look at your own life and the instances where you feel you were looking for validation, and then go deeper and try and understand why were you looking for that validation. Is it because of something you did? And you will get your own answers. Our Guru used to use the example of all the time about on the television decades ago, a scene from Scandinavia, I forget which country, where there were these whales which were being slaughtered, and two very famous people were viewing that. One was Krishnamurthi and the other was Brigitte Bardot, I think, the Hollywood actress. And Brigitte Bardot went on to start a worldwide movement banning that specific activity, which was very brutal. Now, two very different things happened. When she saw what was happening on TV, she was so moved that she decided, with my position of power, with my influence over people, I can do something and create this movement, and she did. And Krishnamurti, being of a gentle, timid nature, could not bear to see what he saw on the TV, and so he went and switched it off. So, two individuals designed precisely the way they have been designed by the divine. There is no question of why did Krishnamurti switch the TV off, he should not have, he should have been moved. You see, with the understanding, you accept that we are all programmed differently. So you will not force your point of view on others and yourself. Because forcing the point of view is control. You're trying to control the other, you're trying to control things. So, end to the degree of control we exercise, we don't even know it. I'll give you a simple example. Sometimes you buy a new car and you will leave the plastic on the, what do you call those, visors or the sunshades on the side. Why? Because you don't want it to get dirty, right? You want it to look new all the time and fresh. Nothing wrong with that. But if there was an understanding that decay is natural, it is the course of evolution, there is no point in me trying to control it, you will happily pull them off maybe and say, let it be, jo hona hai, hone do. It's bound to happen. So where all are we trying to exercise this control in our relationships? Especially very subtle ways of control. One can start looking at that. It was Suresh's birthday yesterday, and he posted a very nice quotation which our teacher had said. Suresh, can you just repeat that?
Ramesh said that thank God for my wife and my family. And then he added that thank that you had given me the grief also, so that I know what the life is all about. And thank for whatever you had given, including the grief.
Exactly. Thank you, God, for giving me a wonderful wife and family, and also for the grief you gave me to know what life is all about. And for that, I am eternally grateful to you. Which is an acceptance that life means pleasure and pain. That is duality. That is duality. We are born into it. And as you say, thank God for your suffering, because you know that there are others who are suffering infinitely more than you. Not easy. And when you get a taste of peace of mind, it's the most beautiful taste, because then you keep going back there. Anything which comes up in life, it's like an automatic setting has been created. That space has already been recognized. It never went anywhere. All the clouds have been removed. And you will find that with each incident in life, with each relationship in life, you're coming back into the center, into that space of what is. Not what should be, what could be, what would be, of what is. That is the gift of the teaching.
To ask something. Last few weeks in news, you know that some disturbing things come up with children and all those things. How do you this teaching of divine, in what sense you find the context of this?
In exactly the same context. What happened is horrific. There's no question about it. Would anger arise? Of course it would. Nothing changes. But you know that there is a divine force which has obviously orchestrated all this. But you will feel and do precisely what you need to. For example, in order to express your anger at an individual level, let's say you want to organize a peace march, which I think is being organized on Monday. You will do it if you are designed that way, because you want to show your disgust at what's happening, right? But the acceptance of the fact that this happened because it was the will of the divine, which we would never know. How could it be so? That is why Ramesh would say a painting can never know why its painter painted it. We would not know, but yet we would do precisely that which we felt was right. I once gave the example of a video which had emerged of children in Iraq. At the age of 4 and 5, they were given automatic guns and were being trained how to use it. So the child's conditioning has been from that age one of hate. And that child grows up in a society which he therefore does not like. So where does it all begin? The seeds are sown how long back? It is not in our control. And it is because of a collective outrage that a law has been passed now, the death penalty. So that is the outcome of the reaction of the society. But we look at it as A leads to B, leads to C, leads to D. But for D to happen, C had to happen, and for C to happen, B had to happen, and for B to happen, A had to happen. So you no longer start looking at things from a cause-effect point of view, because you know it is double-pointed. For this to happen, this had to happen, and for this to happen, this had to happen. Look at your own life. The self-judgment and self-criticism and the self-abnegation stop with the understanding, because there is a total acceptance that I am not a doer. There have been horrors committed in this world over the centuries. Horrors. And it's still going on. But then there are also the sages who have come to show us the way. Duality. The basic duality of life. When someone asked Ramesh, why did God create handicapped children? What harm have they done and to whom? He replied, but nobody asks, why has God created healthy children? Why can't we ask that? Duality of life.
I thought there was a parallel between what you had said earlier about the statement here that was about this person being thankful about his family and about the trials and tribulations that he went through life to know what is meaningful in life. And that's on a personal level. And then on a societal level or a mass consciousness level, when you have these events or things which are jolt a society into, say, action or reorientation. It's like the channel is to reorient towards, if I may call it, the center or through the path where it had strayed from. Same way in life, we go towards certain directions looking for meaning due to our conditioning, and then due to circumstance when we don't get what we want, then we realize that we have to reorient.
Sure.
So I thought that was a pattern.
It's the same.
It's the same.
We need the jolts to wake us up. We need the jolts to wake us up. That is the way it has been designed. Now I'll give you an example of Suresh's case. He has lost his wife to cancer, if you don't mind me saying that. So that has obviously helped him to reach the conclusion and to even put such a statement on his birthday yesterday, because he knows what to be grateful for and the grief God has given him. That suffering is the biggest wake-up call. And as you rightly said, it's the same thing. As in the microcosm, so in the macrocosm. It takes that to wake us up. And then you know what to be grateful for. But the ordinary person is always running away from suffering. When these kind of things happen in one's personal life, you then understand that this is life. Life is not only pleasure, it's sometimes pleasure, sometimes pain. So you are grateful to God for a lot which has not happened in your life, which could have. And the true prayer is one of gratitude. The others, as Ramesh would say, is a form of begging. So that was his prayer of gratitude.
I thought you were quoting Ramesh Balsekar. So it was very beautiful. I didn't know it was.
Yeah.
I just want to share a quote that I read when I was reading about this. So we are talking about it a lot now, but these incidents, the statistics, is about more than 10,000 per year in the country. So it happens almost every day. This is by a Russian author. He says, if only it were all so simple, if only there were evil people somewhere insidiously committing evil deeds, and it were necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being, and who is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart? So we assume that we are solving the problem, but I think the problem is much more about people. It's not the incident, but
Very well said. Anand has a beautiful blog. He writes very well, so if you are keen on reading some good essays, then you could take his blog details from him.
To what he said, I think that goes right to the heart of one's spiritual evolution, which is, and what you said earlier about memory, therefore conditioning, about how, the things that hold us back in a broad sense are the very things that we choose to define ourselves by. The things that we even might know are not good for our growth or even our living, but we can't let go because of the fear of the unknown, because that is who we are, even all the bad things.
Absolutely. That is the way we have been designed.
So that, as you said, goes right down cuts right down to you. Forget about good and evil, about your own, it's about your own evolution. To be able to jettison is the hardest thing, because then who are you? You are a construct of all those things that you define yourself by, external things, memories, conditionings.
And what happens is your prism of seeing changes. Because with the understanding, you come to the conclusion that everything seen, experienced, heard, touched, tasted is within my field of consciousness. It is not outside me in a sense. And that is why Siddharameshwar Maharaj would say that when you label someone a thief, please do know that calling someone a thief is happening in your own consciousness. If you were not conscious, you would not be able to label him a thief. So ultimately, it is in your consciousness. It has nothing to do with the other. It is ultimately nothing to do with the other. And that is why Ramana Maharshi would say that there are truly no others. That is why, as he rightly said, because it is one's own self-discovery. It is not something external to us. So it's really beautiful, I think it's just an amazing landscape. Daily living is an incredibly amazing landscape. It's not dreary, it's not dull, it's not sad, it's not disappointing. But just to see the variety of things which happen, what kind of people you come across, the situations you see, what you encounter. When there is an impersonal scene, that this is precisely the divine in manifestation, and you are a part of that, very little gets rejected. Very little gets rejected. And ultimately, it may sound pessimistic, but ultimately, it is a journey of loss. And when I say that, I don't mean loss of objects, I mean loss of the me who thinks it is separate from the manifestation and who thinks others are separate too. Life has taught me that, through loss. And I have reached the conclusion that the loss is not something external. It may appear that way. And it is seen all the time. We are all marching towards the end of our so-called lives. Everything is changing every day. You get some news, something happens, something doesn't happen, this one says this one says. That is the variety of creation. I walked down to the health club. It's incredible. Out of all the rag pickers and beggars about 4-5 years ago, for some reason there was one whom I would give money to. I don't know why. I didn't question it. But he would light a lamp and put a Shiva photograph by the tree where he used to sit and beg. And I saw this man for 4 years. And one day he came up to me and he said, I'm very unwell and can you give me some money? And so I said, when I'm back, I'll give you. So I went the next day, gave him some money. He had to go and get tests done. And then, after about a week, and I go early in the morning at about 6:30 a.m., he was lying there covered, and the other beggars were sitting next to him. And I was like, my God, he's gone, This object which I saw for 5 years, sitting there, lighting his lamp, giving him the money, is gone. And then the next time I went, for about 10 days, one of his friends would keep the lamp lit and the Shiva picture there, and life went on. And a part of me was sad, and a part of me was, just look at this, everything is so temporary. So when we live with knowing that, then we really cherish every relationship. You will even cherish those relationships which antagonize you, because deep down, this is not real. Why is it not real? Because it is temporary. What is real is eternal. It's just incredible. And the same thing repeated itself last week. You kind of know the stray dogs in your locality. So there's a kind of knowing, like, this brown thing is there, that guy is aggressive, he runs after the cars, that guy is a timid guy who sits in the corner. And there was one dog which was old, I think very old. For a few years it could not walk around much, but some very benevolent person was feeding the dog, because when I would come back out from the health club, a paper would be kept with some khichdi or something for the dog. It was very touching. And the last 2 times I walked past this dog, I saw that it was barking at another dog which was eating its food, because it was not able to move towards its food, and I felt this dog is not going to last for long because its energy is obviously leaving the body. And as luck would have it, because I don't go every day, 2 days later I went and this dog was lying and giving a very agonizing, soft agonizing, agony driven like a scream, and I knew that, its time is up. And I thought, my God, so much we take for granted, which is so temporary, and I was giving a blessing, that's all I could do. I was not the type to, call up the PETA or something and all. I would just silently a blessing would arise that hope this dog is okay. And now this dog was lying there, and one Parsi lady had come down in her pajamas. It was about 7:30 in the morning, and she was giving water to this dog who was lying down on its side. So I went up to her and I said, is the dog dying? So she said, I don't know, but I am doing what I am made to do. And that was so beautiful, because she was doing precisely the way God made her. She said, I am giving it water. And she had one of those, you get these plastic syringes with which you can feed. So she was doing that, and I stood there and I asked her that, is anything required? You need me to make a call or anything? And she said, no, what is there to make a call? I'll be here for some time and then we'll see what happens. And for me, that was just so beautiful. And incredible, the dog was not there. And the next time I walked, which was on Thursday, what did I see? Where the dog used to sit, someone had lit a lamp and put a garland of flowers. My point is, we need to put that lamp and garland of flowers around now. That is honoring consciousness. That lamp has to be lit all the time. That is called living the understanding. The flame of consciousness burns bright and includes each and every experience which you are experiencing. Honoring that is being present to that. To honor your own consciousness. It's taken for granted. Here I am, I've woken up in the morning and this is my world. As Ramesh had said, consciousness reflecting on consciousness is non-dual devotion. That is Bhakti. That is true Bhakti. Everything is happening because you are. That is what is meant by abide in your beingness. When something happens, it's happening in the field of consciousness. You start settling in that field. That is what happens.
Gautam, the other day when we were having tea at the club and two gentlemen were shouting at each other, and you said, like Eckhart would say, two brain bodies, something along those lines. And to me, that brain body term meant like conditioning and baggage that we describe ourselves as going at each other. So, if that, how does one move forward beyond the brain body? How does one move towards dissolving the brain body? Something along those lines I just wanted to.
You should read Eckhart's book for that. Really. His book on New Earth dissects the ego and its sense of doership from all possible angles. I think that's a fabulous gift to humanity. It's called A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. Truly. And actually this term pain body is a beautiful contribution because we take it so personally. Whereas he says the same thing but in different words. That is why I consider Eckhart a teacher of Advaita, but packaged in a different way to reach a large number of people. There is also the collective pain body, which he refers to, and then the individual pain body.